My husband was the perfect man, but I was the one who cheated. He forgave me for getting pregnant with another man's child, and he cared for me meticulously throughout the pregnancy. But when the baby was 7 months along, it was diagnosed with severe deformities. I went home to investigate, only to discover that he had swapped my prenatal vitamins and that he was the one who had orchestrated sending me to another man's bed. When his plot was exposed, he pushed me down the stairs, killing both me and my unborn child. As I lay dying, he told me, if you hadn't stopped me from getting on that bus, Winning would never have broken up with me, and she would have never been in that plane crash. You killed her, so you can repay the debt with your love and your child. I died, consumed by hatred. When I opened my eyes again, I was sitting in a classroom. I had been reborn into my senior year of high school, the year Aiden and Olivia started dating. Tap, tap, a soft rap on my desk. A love letter was slid in front of me. I looked up and saw Aiden from the building next door. Ahem. He looked a little embarrassed, lowering his voice. Can you give this to Olivia for me? When I didn't say anything, he frowned. It's just a small favor. We grew up together. You're not going to say no, are you? I'll buy you dinner next time, I promise. He always used our childhood friendship to guilt trip me. Our families lived across the street from each other. And when we were kids, he dragged me along to take the blame for his mischief because the adults never had the heart to punish a little girl. As we got older, he copied my homework and used my notes. Luckily, our parents signed us up for the same tutoring classes, so his grades were still decent somewhere in the upper middle range. But this semester, he'd fallen for the new transfer student, Olivia, and his grades had plummeted. I can't help you with this, I said, pushing the letter back. Aiden's face went cold. What is your problem? Olivia is your friend, too. What's the big deal? You know how strict my mom is. If she finds out I'm writing letters to Olivia, she'll definitely have a talk with her. Aiden's mom was also a teacher, my teacher, in fact. She already had a bad impression of Olivia, who was a poor student and was dead set against Aiden having a high school romance. Aiden had never been patient with me. He started getting nasty. Even if you have a crush on me, I'll never like you back. Don't you get it? The ugly duckling and the swan just don't compare. So he knew all along that I liked him. His constant requests for me to pass his love letters, to organize his notes, and to let him copy my homework weren't based on our childhood friendship. They were based on my crush on him, which he felt entitled to exploit. A bitter taste filled my mouth. I shook my head and said softly, "It's not that I won't help you. It's that she hasn't been in class for the past 2 days. What do you mean she's not here again? You're supposed to be good friends. Didn't you even go check on her?" Aiden sounded worried, his tone laced with accusation. I almost laughed. She just transferred here. We're not that close, I explained. I don't know where she lives. Aiden bought it and took back the letter. I know how to find her house. He left without another word, not even an apology. Watching his tall, handsome back disappear down the hall, I felt a strange sense of detachment and irony. How could my younger self have ever thought this boy was the moon and the stars? Reborn, I decided I would no longer be the bridge for their love story. I had my own path to walk. That path was to ace my SATs, get into Yale, and make up for the regrets of my past life. Olivia often skipped class, showed up late, and left early, not because she was sick, but because her stepfather was abusive. He would often lock her in the house when her mother wasn't home. In my past life, I listened to Aiden and went to Olivia's house to find her. I walked in on her stepfather trying to assault her. I used a broom to fight him off, falling in the process. But once Olivia was free, she ran out of the house and locked the door behind her, leaving me trapped inside with him. That day, I was pinned down by her stepfather. Though he didn't succeed in doing the worst, the incident left me with a lifetime of psychological trauma. Later, Olivia came to me, crying and apologizing, and Aiden just told me to be the bigger person and forgive her. So this time, I'd let Aiden go, save his own damsel in distress. The next day, I was called into the office. Aiden had been hospitalized. He had snuck into his mom's files to find Olivia's address. When he got there, he found her being harassed by her stepfather. In a fit of rage, he stabbed the man, leaving him seriously injured. Aiden himself had suffered a broken hand and was now in the hospital. Serena, what do you know about the situation at Olivia's house? His mom, who is also my homeroom teacher, Mrs. Evans, asked me. I knew she wanted me to testify about Olivia's home life. But in my past life, after what happened to me, Olivia's stepfather's family was relentlessly aggressive, spreading rumors that I had asked for it. Olivia refused to speak up for me. Even Mrs. Evans told me to let it go and not disrupt the other students' learning. Now, I understood. You don't feel the pain until the knife is in your own back. Mrs. Evans, Olivia, and I don't really talk much, I said, shaking my head. It was the truth. Other than passing messages from Aiden, Olivia barely spoke to me, and I was always buried in my books. We weren't close. Mrs. Evans looked disappointed and sighed. All right then. Aiden won't be able to attend class for a while. Could you organize your notes and bring them to him when you have time? I didn't refuse. She was still my teacher, and I didn't want her to make my life difficult. But as I left her office, I overheard the other teachers whispering. The story about Aiden and Olivia was out. The tale of Aiden's fury for beauty became the top story on the school's gossip blog. That weekend, I brought a fruit basket my mom had bought and went to visit him in the hospital. He was engrossed in his phone, a wide smile plastered on his face. I placed the copied notes on the table. He turned to me, his eyes filled with pity. Thanks for the thought, but Olivia and I are together now. I don't want to make her upset, so we should probably keep our distance from now on. He looked at me as if I were a pathetic, abandoned puppy. Honestly, I was thrilled. Now that I saw him for who he truly was, my old affection was evaporating. All I wanted was to study hard and pull up the grades that had slipped in my past life because of Olivia's stepfather. 2 weeks later, Olivia returned to school. The first thing that happened was Mrs. Evans publicly chewed her out in front of the entire class. After class, Olivia cornered me in the hallway on my way to the restroom. Serena, Aiden's mom won't let us be together. You have to help me. I really love him. I can't live without him, she pleaded, grabbing my arm, her eyes red and welling with tears. My stepfather is seriously injured, and his family is demanding $200,000 in compensation. I know you and Aiden grew up together, and your family is rich. Could you pay the money so Aiden's mom will stop hating me? Her words were so absurd, I could barely process them. I gently pulled my arm away. I can't help you. Why not? Olivia's voice shot up. You won't even do this one little thing for me? Why are you so heartless? One little thing. That was $200,000. I was speechless. I pushed past her and walked away. Serena, I know you're just jealous of me. She suddenly screamed from behind me. You like Aiden, but he only likes me. You can't have him, and you don't want me to have him either, but we'll never let each other go. You can just give up. She then turned and ran off, crying. I ignored the gossiping stares of the other students in the hallway and went straight back to my classroom to do more practice problems. That afternoon, a frantic Mrs. Evans came looking for me. Aiden and Olivia had run away together. You know where they are, don't you? Mrs. Evans was hysterical. I shook my head. I don't know. Impossible. Someone saw you and Olivia talking in the hallway this morning. She must have told you. She grabbed my arm, demanding an answer. The grip hurt. I frowned. Mrs. Evans, I really don't know anything about their plans. We have a pop quiz next period, and I need to study. I was trying to remind her to act like a teacher, but she suddenly swept everything off my desk and onto the floor, pointing a finger at my nose. Aiden is missing, and you have the nerve to study? I knew you were no good. He only met Olivia because you introduced them, didn't he? Get out of my class. I don't want a student like you. She lunged at me, violently dragging me out of my seat and throwing my backpack far down the hallway like a raving lunatic. Later, the principal arrived, investigated the situation, and spoke with other students. After confirming my innocence, he patted my shoulder and told me to go back to class. But Mrs. Evans was relentless. I'm an award-winning teacher, and I absolutely will not accept a student with such poor character. As long as she is in this class, I will not teach it. Mrs. Evans had been named Teacher of the Year for 3 years running and had a track record of getting her classes into top colleges. Sure enough, for the next few days, Mrs. Evans refused to come to class. Every time I sat in that classroom, I could feel the strange looks from my classmates, but none of this was my fault, and I wasn't going to be pushed out. On Friday after school, I was waiting at the bus stop for my transfer. When I caught a glimpse of a familiar figure, it was Aiden. He was carrying a dozen shopping bags, all from high-end brands. When he saw me, his face darkened, and he strode over to me demanding, "Are you following me?" The exact same words as last time. It was then that I remembered. This was the bus I had stopped him from getting on in my past life. I looked at the bus pulling up to the curb, the dented, blue and white local line that led to the outskirts of the city. In my past life, I had grabbed Aiden's arm right here, sobbing, begging him not to throw his future away for a girl who had already proven she would abandon others to save herself. Because I stopped him, he never made it to the terminal. Because I stopped him, he didn't disappear that night, and eventually, his mother's connections scrubbed his record. But because I stopped him, he stayed long enough to marry me, to hate me, and to eventually kill me. "Are you deaf?" Aiden snapped, moving closer, his face twisted in that familiar, arrogant scowl. He was lugging bags from stores I knew he couldn't afford. "I told you to stop stalking me. You're pathetic, Serena. Just because my mom likes you doesn't mean I ever will. I'm leaving this suffocating town with Olivia. We're going to start over where no one knows about her stepfather or my accident." I looked at the shopping bags. "Those are expensive," I remarked calmly. "Did your mother give you her emergency credit card, or did you borrow it from her bedside drawer while she was crying in the kitchen?" Aiden's eyes flickered with a momentary guilt before hardening. "It's an investment in my happiness. Something you'll never understand because you're a robot who only cares about SAT scores." The bus doors hissed open. A gust of stale, warm air hit us. In my previous life, this was the moment I screamed. This was the moment I threw my body in front of him. This time, I took a graceful step backward, clearing his path entirely. I even offered a small, polite smile. "The 402 is a reliable line," I said, my voice as cool as a mountain spring. "It'll take you straight to the South Station. If you hurry, you can catch the Midnight Express out of the state. Good luck, Aiden. I truly hope you and Olivia get exactly what you deserve from each other." Aiden paused, his foot on the first step. He looked confused, almost disappointed that I wasn't fighting him. He wanted the drama. He wanted to be the hero escaping the villainous childhood friend. "You're not going to call my mom?" he asked, suspicious. "I have a practice exam at 7 p.m., I replied, checking my watch. "I don't have time to manage your life anymore. Have a nice trip." He huffed, muttering "freak" under his breath, and hauled his stolen bounty onto the bus. I watched through the grimy window as he sat down, looking triumphant. The bus pulled away, belching black smoke. I didn't call Mrs. Evans. I didn't call the police. I went home, ate a quiet dinner with my parents, who were confused but happy to see me so focused, and I studied until my brain ached. Monday morning at school was a battlefield. Mrs. Evans hadn't shown up for 3 days, maintaining her strike against my presence in her classroom. The principal was losing patience, and my classmates were beginning to grumble. "Serena, just apologize to her," one girl whispered as we sat in the silent homeroom. "If she doesn't come back, our college recommendations are ruined." "Why are you being so stubborn?" "Apologize for what?" I asked, not looking up from my Yale brochure. "For being a student? For having a desk? If a Teacher of the Year wants to abandon 30 students because of a personal grudge, that's a reflection of her character, not mine." Just then, the principal walked in. He looked 10 years older than he had on Friday. Behind him were 2 police officers. "Serena," he said, his voice trembling. "Do you know where Aiden Evans is?" I stood up slowly. "I saw him get on the 402 bus on Friday afternoon. He told me he was leaving town with Olivia." A choked, hysterical scream erupted from the hallway. Mrs. Evans burst in, her hair disheveled, her face gaunt. She ran at me, her fingernails aimed for my face. You knew. You let him go. You saw him leaving, and you didn't stop him. My son is gone because of you. The officers caught her before she reached me. I stood my ground, my heart thumping, but my voice remained lethal. Mrs. Evans, you told me to get out of your class. You told me I was no good and that you didn't want a student like me. Why would I ever think you'd want to hear from me? I looked her dead in the eye, the same eyes that had watched me get bullied in my past life, and said nothing. Besides, you're an award-winning teacher. Surely you taught your son better than to steal your credit cards and run away with a girl whose family he stabbed. Or is that my fault, too? The classroom was pin-drop silent. The saintly Mrs. Evans was being dragged back by police as she shrieked curses at a 17-year-old girl. The principal looked at the floor, unable to defend her any longer. 2 weeks later, the news filtered back. It turns out that without me to stop the bus, Aiden and Olivia's romantic getaway turned into a gritty crime drama within 48 hours. They had made it to a neighboring state, but Olivia, realizing Aiden only had a few $1,000s on a stolen card that was quickly canceled, didn't find him so heroic anymore. While Aiden was asleep in a cheap motel, Olivia took the remaining cash, his phone, and the high-end clothes he'd bought her, and vanished with a local guy she met at a diner. Aiden, penniless and stranded, tried to steal a car to chase her. He was caught within 20 minutes. Because he had a pending felony charge back home for the stabbing of the stepfather, the judge didn't see a confused boy. He saw a violent, fleeing felon. Mrs. Evans spent every cent of her savings on lawyers, but she was fired from the school for her unprofessional conduct and the scandal surrounding her son. She went from the neighborhood's golden mother to the woman who lived in a darkened house across the street, her lawn overgrown, her Teacher of the Year plaques gathering dust in the trash. On the day of graduation, I stood at the podium as valedictorian. I looked out at the crowd. My parents were beaming. The principal was clapping. I saw a figure standing at the very back of the football field, behind the chain-link fence. It was Mrs. Evans. She looked hollow, her clothes hanging off her frame. She was watching me, the girl she tried to destroy, become everything her son was supposed to be. I leaned into the microphone. Many people say that our past defines us, I said, my voice echoing across the field. But I've learned that the past is just a draft. We have the power to rewrite the ending. We don't owe our lives to people who only want to use us as bridges to their own desires. We owe it to ourselves to cross the river alone if we have to. After the ceremony, I was packing my things into my car when a shadow fell over me. It was Olivia. She looked terrible. Her face was bruised, and she was wearing clothes that looked like they came from a donation bin. Serena, she rasped. I heard you're going to Yale. On a full scholarship. I am, I said, not stopping my movements. Can you help me? Just a little money? My stepfather's family is still coming after me, and Aiden's mom sued my mother for enticement. I have nothing. I stopped and looked at her. I remembered the sensation of her locking that door, leaving me with her abusive stepfather. I remembered the cold, hard floor of the mental institution where I died in my past life. Olivia, I said softly. Do you remember what Aiden said to me in the hospital? He said we should keep our distance because he didn't want to make you upset. Her eyes filled with tears. I was desperate. I didn't mean it. And I said, closing my trunk with a firm thud, am focused. I'm focusing on my future. And in my future, you don't exist. Not as a friend, not as an enemy, and certainly not as a charity case. I got into my car and started the engine. As I pulled out of the parking lot, heading toward a life they could never touch, I looked in the rearview mirror. Olivia was standing in the dust of my tires, and Aiden was sitting in a cell, and Mrs. Evans was alone in her dark house. I had paid the debt they claimed I owed. I had paid it with their own greed, their own arrogance, and their own choices. I took a deep breath of the fresh afternoon air. The deformed child of my past life was gone, replaced by a girl who was finally, beautifully, whole. I put the car in gear and drove toward the horizon. I didn't look back. There was nothing left to see.